You're watching a lion cross the savannah. It's hungry. It's been 2 days without food. Ahead, a cheetah has just made a kill. A fresh gazelle, still warm, right there on the ground. The lion walks over, takes the carcass. The cheetah runs. But here's the strange part. The lion doesn't eat the cheetah. It doesn't even try. And it never does. The cheetah never turns to eat the lion either. The wolf doesn't eat the bear. The eagle doesn't eat the hawk. For some reason, the world's deadliest animals almost never eat each other. Most people assume it's instinct, some kind of unwritten code between killers, a silent agreement not to cross certain lines. But that's not it at all. The real reason is far stranger. It involves invisible poison, biological traps, and a mathematical rule that governs all life on Earth. And the moment you understand it, you won't be able to stop thinking about it. Because this rule, the unspoken rule that keeps predators from eating each other, is silently shaping your body right now. Stay with me until the end. The last part is entirely about you. Let's start with something that sounds simple. Eating is expensive. Not expensive in money, expensive in energy. Every time any living thing eats something, it captures a fraction of the energy stored in that thing. Just a fraction. A cow grazes all day, eating enormous amounts of grass. But it only converts about 10% of that grass into actual body mass. The other 90% burns off, used just to breathe, walk, pump blood, stay alive. Now a lion eats that cow. It gets 10% of the cow's energy, which is already 10% of the original grass. By the time that energy reaches the lion, it has shrunk almost to nothing. Scientists have a name for this. They call it the energy pyramid. And at every level you climb, 90% disappears. So now ask yourself, what happens if a lion tries to eat another lion? It would be getting 10% of 10% of 10%. A crumb, a nutritional insult. The predator would burn more energy chasing and fighting and killing another predator than it could ever possibly get back from eating it. It's a losing trade. And after 4 billion years of evolution, nature has no patience for losing trades. This is why apex predators are always rare. It's not a coincidence. It's physics. A forest that supports 10,000 beetles can support 1,000 frogs. Those frogs support 100 snakes. Those snakes support maybe 10 hawks. The energy is simply not there to support more, and if a hawk starts hunting other hawks, it's trying to survive on almost no fuel at all. The math collapses. But here's where it gets stranger, because the energy problem is only the beginning. There is a second reason predators avoid each other, and it's one most people never consider. Predators are toxic, not venomous, not poisonous like a dart frog, but chemically dangerous in a completely different way. Here's how it works. Everything in nature absorbs tiny amounts of harmful chemicals from its environment. Heavy metals, mercury, pesticides, industrial pollutants that have seeped into soil and water over decades. A small fish absorbs a microscopic trace of mercury from the water it swims through. Not enough to matter, but the fish that eats 1,000 of those small fish concentrates all of that mercury into one single body. And the shark that eats 1,000 of those fish, it's now carrying the accumulated mercury from 1,000,000 tiny creatures. Scientists call this biomagnification, and it never stops climbing. The higher you go up the food chain, the more concentrated those poisons become. Apex predators, lions, killer whales, eagles, large sharks are not just powerful. They are walking repositories of everything toxic that moved through their ecosystem for the last decade. Their fat, their muscle, their organs, all saturated with concentrated poison. If another predator regularly ate apex predators, it would be drinking from that toxin reservoir every single meal, over and over and over. And now here is where this stops being about lions. Because you are an apex predator. Every time you eat a large predatory fish, tuna, swordfish, shark, you are eating the concentrated toxin load of everything that fish ever ate. The FDA warns pregnant women to limit tuna. Not because tuna is bad, because of biomagnification. You are sitting at the top of the food chain, accumulating what everything below you accumulated. Mercury in your blood, pesticides stored in your fat tissue. You are the endpoint of a very long chemical chain. And if something were to eat you, it would be getting quite a dose. But let's say a predator is willing to ignore the energy math. Let's say it decides to risk the toxin load. There is still one more reason it should walk away, and this one is brutally simple. The prey will fight back. Think about what makes a predator. Speed built from a lifetime of chasing. Claws engineered for gripping and tearing. Teeth shaped to puncture and hold. Muscle that has been tested against struggling, panicking animals every week for years. A predator is a weapon that has been sharpened by every single hunt. So when you attack another predator, you are not attacking a gazelle. You are attacking the most dangerous thing in your ecosystem. And in the wild, injury is not just pain, injury is a death sentence. Maybe not today, but a torn ligament means a slower hunt tomorrow. A deep bite means infection next week. A cracked rib means you can't breathe right during the chase. And a predator that can't hunt doesn't eat. A predator that doesn't eat doesn't last long. A lion that won the fight against a leopard might still limp for 3 weeks afterward. 3 weeks of compromised hunting. For what? A meal smaller and more costly than any gazelle it could have caught instead. The energy wasn't there. The toxins were a problem, and the injury risk just made the equation even worse. But there is one more layer, and it might be the most unsettling one. Other predators are biologically dangerous in a way prey animals simply are not. Here is why. Predators share ecosystems. They eat the same things. They live in the same environments, which means their bodies have been shaped by the same parasites, the same bacteria, the same pathogens, all of which have had millions of years to evolve specifically inside carnivore biology. When a predator eats an herbivore, it encounters biology it was designed to process. When a predator eats another predator, it sometimes encounters a biological payload its body was never built to handle. Prions, worm larvae, bacteria that thrive in a carnivore's gut in ways that can become catastrophic at high doses. Cannibalism among predators, when it does occur, has been shown to spread disease at terrifying speed. Hyenas that consume other hyenas carry specific parasites found almost nowhere else. Komodo dragons are biologically loaded with bacteria that make them living contamination zones for anything bitten or consumed. And this disease risk is one of the quiet evolutionary pressures that shaped predator behavior across hundreds of millions of years. Your body inherited some version of this pressure. That gut-level disgust reflex when you encounter something rotten, something wrong-smelling, something that feels like it could contaminate you, that is an ancient biological alarm. It might be an evolutionary memory of exactly this kind of danger. Your body learned across enormous stretches of time that some things are not safe to eat, even if they look like food. Now, here is the question everyone eventually asks. Does it ever actually happen? Do predators ever eat other predators? Yes, but almost never for food. Lions kill cheetahs. Wolves kill coyotes. Bears kill wolves, but in almost every documented case, they don't eat them afterward. Scientists have a name for this behavior. They call it Intraguild Predation, and the key word is guild. It's not about food, it's about competition. The lion doesn't kill the cheetah because it's hungry. It kills the cheetah because the cheetah is a competitor for the same prey. Removing the competition means more food available. It's territorial violence, not a meal. There are real exceptions. Killer whales hunt sharks. Crocodiles will consume almost anything that fits in their jaws. Large pythons have been documented taking down alligators. But even in these cases, the events are rare, opportunistic, and often costly. The animal doing the eating paid in energy, in risk, in biological exposure. Nature has been running this experiment for hundreds of millions of years. The result is consistent. Predators do not regularly eat predators. Not because of instinct, not because of kindness, because of cold, invisible math that nothing has ever managed to escape. But here is what this whole story has been circling. The part that makes it stop being a nature documentary and start being about you. You are an apex predator, not metaphorically, biologically, evolutionarily. You sit at the very top of the food chain on this planet. Everything we have talked about applies to you. The energy pyramid means you are the rarest thing in your ecosystem by design. There are more insects on this planet than humans by a factor that is almost impossible to visualize. More fish than apex predators. You exist at the compressed tip of an enormous biological machine, sustained by everything below. The biomagnification means you are carrying the toxin load of everything you have ever eaten. Mercury from the fish, pesticides absorbed into the animals you eat, chemicals bioaccumulating in your tissue, right now, today. You are, at this moment, the most chemically concentrated organism in your local food chain. The disease and parasite risk? That explains why your immune system is the most complex one ever evolved on this planet. Because at the top of the chain, you are a target for every pathogen that has adapted to live inside a predator. But here is the twist. Nothing eats you. No animal hunts humans as a primary food source anymore. We have removed ourselves from that equation so completely that the space above us in the food chain is simply empty. There is no predator left on Earth that sees humans as prey. And what does that mean for a species at the top? It means the only real check on an apex predator, the only force that has ever controlled the very top of the food chain, is other members of the same species. Lions don't eat lions, but they do kill them. Wolves control wolf populations through territory, conflict, and competition, and humans have become the only apex predator in recorded history that has made itself the primary existential threat to its own kind. Not because we are uniquely violent, but because we removed every other pressure from the pyramid. The lion avoids the other lion because of math, toxins, injury risk, and biological contamination. You carry every one of those same evolutionary pressures. They are built into your body, expressed in your disgust reflex, your risk calculation, the unconscious way you assess threat. You are not separate from this story. You are the latest chapter of it, the apex of the apex, and the food chain didn't stop working when it reached you. It just became invisible. You just forgot you were in it.